Today's presentation is on the Malaysia property market performance at the first half of 2021. This is the outline of my presentation today. I will start off on the property market activity, followed by the property market status, and the last section is on the house price movement. The Malaysia's gross domestic product performance in comparison to Q2 last year registered a contraction of 17.2%. While this year, we saw a huge increase in GDP at 16.1%. Similar pattern is also seen in the property market performance in terms of transaction. And another indication is the loan application and the loan approval for the purchase of residential property. In terms of value of application this year, compared to last year, 2020, you can see there's a huge change in the loan application with an increase of 86%. Same goes for the percentage of change for the loan approval. But then if you see in terms of ratio, which is the percentage of loan approval over the loan application, the percentage is about the same as last year. For non-residential property, it is quite similar with the residential property. There's a huge change, huge increase, which is about 52.6% of the loan application compared to last year. Same goes for the change in loan approval. But again, in terms of ratio, it's still within the range of less than 35%. Let's proceed in terms of property market transaction. As you can see, for the first half of 2021, we recorded nearly 140,000 transactions worth around 62 billion across all subsectors. If we compare to the first half of 2020, you can see a huge increase of 21% in terms of volume and 32.1% in terms of value. The significant increase was due to the low base in first half of 2020. Let's look at the contribution of transaction volume by subsector. The residential subsector remained dominant and led the overall property market with 65.8% contribution in the volume of transaction. This was followed by the agriculture at 18.9% and commercial at 7.5%. In terms of value, residential took the lead with 55.6% share, followed by the commercial with 17.6%. Now we'll move on with more detailed analysis. For the residential segment, we can see that the transaction volume trend and also the value trend are on the uptrend for both. For volume, we can see that the increase of more than 22% in terms of value. We can see, in terms of value, we can see that nearly 35% increase compared to first half of 2020. And this is in terms of the breakdown of transaction by price range. You can see that nearly 60% of the residential transaction are dominated by those priced 300,000 and below. In terms of market activities, as compared to last year, you can see a significant rise in all the price segments. Now, on the supply side, we have roughly 5.9 million of existing residential units, with around 430,000 in the incoming supply as well as in the planned supply. This slide shows us the construction activity in terms of completion, starts, and new planned supply. You can see that against last year, more construction activities are being recorded in the first half of 2021. Completion at 8.7%, starts at 33.8%, and new planned supply at 36%. I'll now show you the property market performance. These are the numbers for the residential new launches. New launches are the primary market from the developers. In total, 16,660 units of residential unit being launched in the first half of 2021 and recording a moderate sales performance of around 25%. By price range, you can see that the highest launches come from the 300,000 to 400,000 price range, followed by the 200,000 to 300,000 price bracket. For the residential overhang segment, you can see that there's 31,112 overhang units in the country in the first half of 2021 with the value of more than 20 billion. Overhang is defined as completed units but remain unsold in the market. When compared to previous half years, the overhang numbers had reduced since the peak in 2019. In terms of number, when we compare to the second half of 2020, we can see an increase of 5.2%, and correspondingly, the value of overhang increased by 6.2% compared to the second half of 2020. Further breakdown by type, you can see that more than 60% of the overhang units are contributed by the high-rise units and followed by the terrace units. Most of the overhangs unit fall under the 200,000 to 300,000 price range. When we group this price range into 4 categories, we can see that more overhang units in the higher price bracket of 500,000 and above, which takes about 50% of the total residential overhang in the country. And under the category of unsold under construction, and we have now about 75,000 unsold units, while the unsold not constructed, we recorded a lower magnitude of 13,000 units. Okay, now we look at the Malaysia House Price Index. Index point at Q2 2021 stand at 197.9 point. Year-on-year trend show a decline in terms of price, while on the quarterly movement, you can see a similar decline but at a slightly higher rate. Over the years, Malaysia see a gradual decline in terms of the percentage of increase. And due to the pandemic and the effect on the economic sector, we can see that the house price is slowly moving in the contraction side of the market. In the latest slide, I will share with you the latest figure that recently published. Now we move to the commercial sector. Let's look in terms of the transaction. It recorded the same pattern trend as residential. There were 10,433 transactions worth 10.93 billion recorded in the first half of 2021. Both transaction volume and value increased about 28%. And this is in terms of the breakdown of transaction by price range. Commercial transactions are dominated by those priced 300,000 and below with 32.6%, while another 28.3% priced between 500,000 to 1 million. And by segmentation of commercial transaction, terrace shops dominated more than half of the transaction in the first half of 2021. Now take a look at the commercial inventory. This number is in terms of unit for shops, service apartment, and SOHO. SOHO is an acronym for small office, home office. We have about 500,000 of shop units, nearly 300,000 units of service apartment, and almost 50,000 of SOHO units. Other inventories under the commercial sector, we have more than 1,000 shopping complex buildings in the country, another 47 buildings in the incoming supply, and 10 buildings in the planned supply. While for purpose-built office, we have more than 2,500 office buildings, another 44 buildings in the incoming supply, and 13 buildings in the planned supply. Now let's look at the service apartment construction activity. We can see that compared to last year, slightly less completion were recorded, but higher starts and higher new planned supply. On the service apartment market status, the number increased over the years, but the magnitude had already declined. There are more than 24,000 units of completed but unsold service apartment in the country. And in terms of value, we see a decline compared to last year. The service apartment being a commercial property, and most of the overhang units are priced above 500,000. These are the numbers that have been in the market and remain unsold for the past years. And for the unsold under construction service apartment unit, we have now around 42,000 units, while for the unsold not constructed, we recorded around 6,500 units. Now, take a look at the purpose-built office and shopping complex supply and occupancy. If we look at the performance, both are showing lower occupancy rate compared to last year. For this year, we're recording 78.5% for purpose-built office and 76.6% occupancy rate for shopping complex. If we break it down by private purpose-built office, the occupancy level is even lower. As we seen earlier, the overall occupancy, which comprises government and private buildings, stand at 78.5%. However, the occupancy of private purpose-built office stand lower at 71.7%. Shopping complex performance recorded a downtrend occupancy rate over the years. The occupancy rate for the first half of 2021 is at 76.6%. Now, in terms of industrial property transaction, it recorded the same pattern as residential and commercial. there were 2,562 transactions worth of 6.48 billion recorded in the first half of 2021. And if we compare to the first half of 2020, you can see a huge increase of 29.4% in terms of volume and 19.8% in terms of value. And again, this is due to the low base in first half of 2020. By types, terrace, factory, and vacant plot dominated industrial transaction with 32.2% and 27.5% each. And in terms of the breakdown of transaction by price range, you can see that nearly 50% of the industrial transactions are dominated by those priced above 1 million. Let's have a glimpse on industrial property inventory. On the supply side, we have roughly 120,000 existing industrial units, with nearly 4,400 units in incoming supply and more than 6,700 in the planned supply. Okay, now some update. Our latest statistics show that the market activity softened in the first 9 months compared to last year, while value increased by 20%. The increase in total value was due to the several major transactions recorded in the commercial sector, and residential overhang improved as more units were absorbed, though quite the opposite for service apartment. As I mentioned earlier on the Malaysia house price latest update, this is the latest Q3 2021 figure. Year-on-year trend show a decline in terms of price by a margin of less than 1%, while on the quarterly movement, you can see a similar decline by a higher rate of 1.9%. And again, Malaysia continue to see a gradual decline in terms of percentage of increase. That brings us to the end of my presentation. With just 1 month left, how will market perform by year end? For 2021, the domestic economy is on track to expand by 3% to 4%, while growth will be supported by the increase in economic activities as containment measures are progressively relaxed amid continued policy support. And in terms of property market, it is expected to remain soft but may gain momentum in line with the growth in economy and supported by the implementation of various government initiatives and assistance. Okay, with that, I end my session. Thank you everyone for your kind attention. Back to you, MC.